Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry it's been a few months since I posted, kind of caught up. So just wanted to answer some questions that have been posted on my previous videos and just do an update on the new accessories that I purchased or made. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Yeah, so I guess most obvious that I should start off with is probably the roof rack. This is one that I have made. I wish I could say that I powder coated it, but I didn't. That's just way out of my size range that I can powder coat here. But I really kind of wanted a roof rack since the beginning. I figured it'd be a nice addition, mostly because of the type of riding that I do. I like to do multi-day trips, and it's always nice to have more storage, which ultimately I should have waited had I known the new Commanders were coming out, and they would be based on, the Maverick Sports. I probably would have done that and I wouldn't have a need for a roof rack, but here we are. So with that being said, well, there are no options out there other than for the 4-seat, but those are different because they're a 4-seater. Obviously they won't work on the 2-seater. So I set out to build my own, and that's what I did. It's multi-purpose. I have lights on each corner that kind of sit in the pockets here between the risers, and they project on each corner of the vehicle. And the idea there is if I'm out riding late at night and I come up to a spot that I want to camp, then I have, so to speak, perimeter lights, and they're a super wide angle. I mean, they're really, really wide angle projection. So you don't have to adjust them much. I do leave these just a little bit loose so I can adjust the angles of them. But for the most part, it's kind of just been a set and forget. I have it all wired up using the connectors they came with. And I brought them down, connected them all together into a GM weather pack, which is pretty normal, at least for the Mavericks. And I can just easily, if I ever want to take the roof rack off, just pop it off, plug that off, and 4 bolts and the roof rack comes off. So it's pretty slick, it works well. I'm really excited to try it out. I mean, actually use it. I've used the roof rack before I had it finished, kind of R&D and make sure it was what I wanted. But I never got to use the lights. So I do have pictures where I, set it up outside in the dark and turn the lights on, but other than that, I haven't used those yet. Next obvious thing, I put these risers here, and the advantage is I spaced them specifically so I could put a link base for a Defender. Of course, you drill the holes, rivet them, and then you can put the tool grips like this one is. These are easy on, easy off. They're real nice quality rubber, and it's a quarter turn. They come off and you're just left with the socket. So my idea being I can pack any number of tools that I want. In this case, I have it set up with a digging shovel, and on this side I have a splitting maul. Because yes, you can cut up lumber, but sometimes there's big chunks that are already around and you need something to break it up with, so that's the purpose of the maul. And on top of that, you can use the hammer for whatever else, and excited to try it out. The only problem that I have is with the shovel is it completely blocks that light. But there's worse problems to have. The other thing that I did, welded these loops on. So if you have like a cargo net or if you have ratchet straps or something, you can easily hook it and tighten them down. It was kind of the last thing that I did on this before I had it powder coated, but The main features that I'm real excited about that I like, and yes, I do like the Can-Am accessories, and it shows. I put link bases on each side, and then I put a, I guess, so to speak, a mount for the hook in the center. So this roof rack will accept the 12-gallon or the 23-gallon storage boxes. It won't accept the 8-gallon cooler or the big 32-gallon storage box, which is totally fine because honestly they're a bit big to put up here. So I mean, I don't know how often I'm going to put the boxes up here, but I like the flexibility to do so. And then over here I have, this is a 16-inch base, so I can put the small 4-gallon cooler, or I can put the new Link toolboxes up here. So I can have a combination. I can have one box here and one box there. I can have a cooler there. I can have a box here. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So it's mounted pretty easily. There's just 4 bolts, one on each side on the front, one on the corner on the back, and it lifts off. There's no drilling, nothing I have to change. I can just put it on and take it off, and away we go. And as far as stability goes, if you have it fully loaded, I mean really heavily loaded with a lot of heavy gear up there, yeah, you do notice the weight, and you have to drive accordingly, which isn't too common with a lot of UTV guys. They just go wide open, and well, you see the videos posted of what happens next. But yeah, that's kind of the rack, the roof rack, and I'll set it up real quick and I'll show you guys kind of how it lays out with the smaller accessories and the smaller box on top. So here we go. As you can see, I got everything up there. Everything fits well. It takes up a lot of space when you have the big containers on, but you know, it all depends on what your activity is. If you feel like you need to have big storage boxes, then they're a great way to seal dust and dirt and debris and stuff out of them. As I said, the downside is physically they take up a lot of space. It's a trade-off. Otherwise, I'll typically put one of the storage boxes on the rack, and then I'll put my big bulky items like a big sleeping bag or tent goes up there, clothing, cot, hammock, whatever, it can go up there, and then still gives me room in the box on the deck lid or in the trunk. So it's pretty versatile, it's flexible, I have options, I can change it up, suit it however I want, which is a very big attraction to me. This is what I like. Obviously the coolers, it's a tight fit. It's a very tight fit. And that's one of the reasons for the height here, is because when I mocked it up, I had it 2 inches taller. It looked goofy. It was way too tall, way too big. But the other problem was there was not enough clearance on the sides of the accessories to actually fit in and hook up. So that's another reason for the height that it is. Everything is easily installed and removed. So there's a few tricks, but I mean, just like that. Now, with things like the storage box, you can open them while it's on. The cooler, because of the strap design, it's not accessible. You have to actually take the cooler off and open the lid that way, but you know. And I am 6'4", so this kind of puts it in perspective how tall a machine is and how high the roof rack is. Might be an issue for most people, high center of gravity, blah, 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 but as I said, you just have to change your driving habits. For me, all I do, I just stand it up on the tire, and I have access to everything up here without any issues. So, just a cool little addition. It'll come in real handy this summer for a lot of camping. So, super excited. Allows the vent to work. I don't have to change to a normal roof. If I ever want to, if I sell a machine and get a Commander, I can keep the roof rack, sell a machine, So, anyways, that's that part. Next, we'll go on to the next part, which is the upper doors. So yeah, this fall, I purchased the upper doors, the soft doors, however you want to call them. And actually, I used them a couple of times this winter. It was so cold and miserable that I didn't get a whole lot of riding in, but as far as the horrible, nasty winds that we get here in Idaho, huge difference. Made this machine totally more bearable. And there's videos on YouTube how to install them. It's pretty simple. The most time-consuming by far is adjusting. You have to pop this plastic off. Your hinges are back here, and that's by far the most time-consuming part of it, because you have to adjust your door. Number one, so it'll close, and number two, so it'll mostly seal. Don't expect a perfect seal on these, because it's just they aren't. It's just the way they are. I guess you might be able to tweak the frame here and there, but it's not going to be perfect. You have to realize these are fabric. They keep most of the wind out. They keep the water off you. That's what they're designed for. They're not a hard sealed glass door, but they have, the traditional zipper. They tell you to unzip them and then roll them up, but I have seen so many of these panels that are just scratched to hell because people do that when they're dirty. No, I just leave them up. If I have to talk to somebody outside of the car, I just open the door, get my business done, and keep going. But yeah, all in all, pretty easy, very expensive, but name of the game. And in here, about the only thing that I've added that's different, got a few different light switches, better descriptions on them, and then I added the roof light switch. Of course, it illuminates just like the factory ones. You turn the key on. And I mean, as I said, they're not super bright, but they have a really wide broadcast. I mean, here I am, almost 90 degrees to them, and you could still see the beam just perfectly. So that's that. Just because of how I wanted the switch wired, the accessory has to be on. It's not on all the time, but I think that's about all I changed in here. One thing I did notice with the upper doors is the roof vent works really damn good now. Imagine that. Seal off the cabin, you get a lot of airflow coming through. So, anyways, I think I only have one small accessory left, and I'll show it to you now. So, let's get into the trunk here. I guess this counts as an accessory. I just bought a cheap bag off of Amazon for the chainsaw, keep it a little cleaner. But I added a 12-volt charger for a 20-volt battery, for 20-volt DeWalt battery. So I bought the Can-Am power plug kit, which is all the way back there, and I bought the charger, mounted it so I can pop it in and out if I want to, and that way I always have a charged battery. I bought a little DeWalt impact driver for things like the clutch cover and whatnot if I ever need to, but mostly for the saw. With it being 20 volt and a chainsaw, it actually does pretty good on a charged battery, but it is nice having an extra battery on board and a charger. So yeah, so I think that about does it. As I said, really haven't changed much. It's just been a few accessories, and it's just mostly been getting more camping gear and that kind of stuff. But anyways, it's enough of me rambling. Anyways, I guess I'll see you guys later.